please tell me, or like blurry their face out of the recording. But yeah, this is something that also other friends have me to hear. So yeah, I'm just gonna record, okay? All right, so let's start with this talk. I'm very excited because I read this book that we got in the beginning of the semester. It was called Teach Like a Champion, and they have a lot of like techniques on how you can improve your teaching. The only flaw that I found that with this book is that they mostly focus on high school and middle school, teaching, like math and sciences and stuff, but they leave behind, like they don't teach computer science. It's normal. So after reading this book and shaping it to our school methodology, I come up with these techniques that I'm going to share with you, and that have been proven really effective. The students feel like really comfortable in the classroom. Like I feel like it's a cool classroom at the moment. So yep, let's get started. Hi guys, Lidi, no problem. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. All right, so let's get started. Before I have the presentation prepared in 3 different components. It's before class, during class, and after class. But before going forward with these 3 areas, the first that I would like to share with you 2 concepts that like absolutely made me think a lot and broke my mind because they're quite interesting. So we have these 2 types of learnings, right? The first one, we have inductive learning, and then we have deductive learning. In deductive learning, you show them what to do, and this will be like a normal class that we do, like workshops, and we code in front of the students, and they learn from you. And in deductive learning, they figure out what to do. Like that means like in dojos, you don't have too much involvement, or like they work in workshops trying to build their like own solution. What do you guys think is better? I'm gonna ask. I like to ask a lot of random questions to random people. So I apologize if you don't want to just tell me to back up, but that will be fine. So let's see who we have in the audience. Roman, can you tell me what do you think?
No better. Depends on the student. Some students
100%.
prefer to have an inductive approach, and others prefer the deductive approach.
100%.
I think there is some links with how they learn things.
100%. Like you mentioned, I've had students that like from the beginning to the end, they like me to be with them and push them. And there's students that they told me to back off, and like they just come like cats when they feel like it, and like they ask me questions later on when they feel like it. Something that I learned in my personal experience that I think it's like more applicable to an audience and not just a particular student is a timeline. Usually in the beginning, people like the inductive learning more. You tell them every time, all the time, what to do. And as the course progresses at PDL, for example, some of your students might have like doing their projects now, and like you are too much involved. And that's because Roman says yes, 100%, because as long as the course progresses, they learn how to learn. So, and this is probably something you already know, but it's something like when you rationalize the concept, it makes your teaching more powerful later on when you're planning your lessons. Like, okay, if I'm in the middle of my in the middle of the semester, it makes sense that I don't explain them too much. Of course, if the student particularly asks me because he's a student that loves inductive, okay, no problem. But it's very important that we have these concepts in mind. Okay, that will be the first one. The second concept that really make me think a lot is a mental model. Like how do we like build a mental model? And this is also, like I mentioned, it's also called intuition, because like, okay, how do you know how to make pancakes, right? How do you know how to cook, or how do you know how to like ride a bike? Well, this is like kind of set of experiences. Maybe someone show you how to. Maybe in your brain, with the experiences, is starting to make the connections between your legs and the bike, the way you ride. And with coding, we're trying to learn the same things. Like when we're showing our students how to code, we're trying to build a mental model and how everything works and is connected all together. Okay. So for example, when we teach them about arrays, when we teach them about some functions, and then they start to picturing them in their mind, and it's like, okay, then at some point I have some users, in my app that I can group in an array, and then I have a function that can, like, change the username or something. I don't know. That's an example. So these mental models are the ones that are gonna show them how to do stuff, especially in computer science. So let's ask a different question. Let me see who I have here on the Carlos. Can you hear me? Hey man, are you here with us? Okay, Carlos is out. Lily, are you here with us? Okay, Lily's not here. Bastien, hi, I see you.
So sorry, I take my breakfast. That's why I closed the video, but I didn't have time before. But I'm listening.
No problem. Well, let me ask you a question. Like, do you have a particular mental model in mind that you have in your day-to-day life?
So, it's a very difficult question. I don't know how to answer to that. Sorry, I don't. I don't know if I have a mental model, a specific mental model. It's
no problem. And the point of this, talk is like making you sure. Like, I'm sure you have, but you haven't thought it as a mental model. So I would like you guys, to understand the particular concept is like my intuition to solve a particular problem. That's a mental model. And then you're gonna like, okay, that makes sense. And then you can share that mental model with others. That's how it's very powerful. But thank you for sharing with us. All right, so let's move forward. Now, as I mentioned, there was two concepts that I really like to share with you guys. And then there is three components of on the learnings that I have from this book: before, during, and after class. So let's start with before class, okay? And this is my favorite question ever. Do you guys think that we need to be friends of students? Carl, are you here with us?
Yes.
What do you think?
Yes. About it depends, of course, but for me, I used to be very close to them, and I think at least for this year and for my group, they like this proximity because I'm not a friend in the really friends sense. I don't share my personal problems or something like that, but I really care about them, and I try to be close to them, and they like that. And they apparently it helps a lot for them to learn and to trust me about my judgment, my words, and for me it's okay. I like this approach.
100%. I agree a lot. Being close to students also facilitates, the learning process and the feedback you get from them, as you mentioned. Thank you very much. But the question will be, is like, do you need to? Like at the beginning, like let's say day one, you don't know them, they don't know you, and it's like, oh, hi, I'm, Carl or Manu, or like I'm your new student, your new teacher. It's like, do like this? Do this complement of being their friend needs to be present? And the answer is no. Okay, you don't need to be their friend in order for them to make the learning happening. It's not necessary on the beginning, of course, and like to become their friends. Also, some of you might have this like learning also, but when you come really, really close to them, sometimes it's weird to differentiate or hard to differentiate between friendship and a professor.
Sure.
So yeah, that's my learning on that particular point. You might have a similar experience or a different experience, but this is something I like to share on that. Oh, sorry, of course, Bastien, no problem. Yeah, sometimes I go a little bit, too excited, but yeah, I can speak a little bit slow. No problem, no worries. Thank you. All right. So the first technique I have for you guys, after we define all this set of like concepts and rules and like questions, is a simple one. It's drawing. Okay, and I really, really, really like this technique because you come with them, you show some pencils and some papers, and there's like, okay, we're gonna see arrays today. You have 3 minutes to draw what you think on this array. And sometimes they really draw funny stuff. But it's a great icebreaker, I think, for them to start showing you and connect with them. How do they approach a particular concept? Okay, they're super technical students. that will like absolutely, you know, like, okay, this is like an array. I think like a desk and stuff, and I put stuff in my desk, and oh, there you go, there's an array. And there's some students that go really, really creative. It's like, okay, let's say that I have a universe, and then I have some planets, and then each planet is part of the universe. It's very cool. I really, really encourage you to try this. And yeah, also the fun part after everyone finished their drawing is to exchange their draws between students so they can, you know, see, oh, okay, this is like other people's perspective. That's funny. And usually breaks the ice really well and make them be friends and, you know, more comfortable with you to ask questions later on. Okay, that's the first thing I have for you guys. Then make them discuss in pairs. Okay. This is also something I like to do before, you know, we're talking before class, you know, like after you start teaching the main subject. It's like a preparation, right? So you can ask an open-ended question. We're going to talk about open-ended questions later. They're not the best approach most of the time, but when they are asked in pairs, they work really good. So for example, let's say we are 15 people at the moment in this room. We're not going to do it. It's just an example. But I can say, okay, guys, do you think that, I don't know, ketchup is better than mayonnaise? Discuss in pairs, you know, like to your partner on your right or your left. And that usually breaks the ice super good. Like people start talking to each other, you know, like they start feeling more comfortable with the topic we're going to approach. Of course, when you're doing a tech talk or like showing them something like more technical, you can ask, for example, I had a class on Next.js last week, and my open-ended question was like, do you guys think that we need a framework for working with React? By the way, the answer is yes, absolutely, because React is a bit messy sometimes, but that's the main approach. You know, like everyone starts to share their opinions and making this community. That's a very important point, that students need to feel that they're working in a community. That's why they choose to work in a school, because if not, they can just work solo and, you know, work in their house without any help. Or the community is the good stuff, or like the main part of having a school. Okay, so there you go. That's a second technique that I have that it really works for me. They really, really, really need to feel as a professor that you're available for them. Okay, I have this calendar in my classroom, you know, and we have something to draw the students, and you say, okay, I have this week, I have these things planned on my week, like meetings or like, I don't know, what food or eating or something. You cannot have me on this time, but you can have me on this time, and set a time, you know, 30 minutes or something. Usually people come to me with very punctual technical questions when they book a room on that. And that's good because, you know, it makes your time more productive and their time more productive. And it's like really good. Not very used by students, but in retrospectives, when they ask me or when they mention, oh, I have some questions about this, like when they say, oh, I don't feel very comfortable about this topic, I feel that we should take more time. And like this topic is something that you covered before, and you know you cannot move back very often. You can ask them to book a slot with you, and usually you can do one-on-one. And I know we have a similar approach with, like, we do class, you know, I don't know the word in English, but when you cover a topic again every day. But I like this approach better because this allows them to have a particular question or a particular slot with you. Make it more like customizable, one-on-one. I think it works way better. So that's my approach. All right. So this is interesting as well. And this is something we covered before, is deductive versus inductive. And I asked them, you know, after each retrospective to give topics, ideas, and things that they want to learn. So for example, this week, everyone was curious about TypeScript. It's not, I didn't see it on the calendar, but it's okay. You know, like I saw, we had a presentation also. So we have a class on TypeScript last Monday. And it's not good on the beginning because they don't really know what they want. You know, like they just want to learn coding. It's very ambiguous. And as the course progresses, they understand the whole picture and they can choose, and they can vote most particularly. We can, for example, in this week, I give them 5 slots, and each one of these slots can have a vote. And these votes, you know, I tell them, each one of you students have 2 votes, and then you can choose. And if there's a tie, I get to choose as a teacher, you know. And yeah, it's also really good. They like embrace the feeling and choosing the class. Sometimes it's really hard, and like for example, when they teach they choose a topic that you don't like know very well. I had that case on Next.js, for example. I never worked with Next, but like they most of the time just want an introduction to the concept class. It's not like you have to go really deep. So for me, it took like 1 hour to go through Next documentation and understanding how Next works, and there you go. You know, and it shouldn't be too hard. Do we have questions so far? Any questions? Any comments? I see that I saw some comments before. Okay, we're good. Before I move forward, we're good. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, now these are some of the techniques that have been proven helpful before the class. After, you know, while I'm choosing the topic, while I want to make them feel comfortable, part of a community, part of their belonging, you know, to something. But then you got to the good stuff, right? Which is like during the classroom, like how do they approach or like absorb a particular topic? So, okay, let's go with this cold asking. Open-ended questions don't work really well. Why?
When the question is not asked to someone in particular, everyone feels it's the other who have to answer and not me.
Very good. Shy people, like they want to leave the partner to something, the thing to something else. I on purpose make an open-ended question to this, like, you know, conference, and it took 10 seconds to get an answer, you know, and because Romain is like very brave, you know, but sometimes students are super shy and they don't, you know, like to, you know, show off because there's really smart people in classes. And yeah, asking a particular question to a specific person is way better. Also, it makes the flow of your class going, you know, forward. As a rule of thumb, I can share with you that it's like always go for like direct cold asking to a specific question, and only when you have a particular technique or a particular, you know, like idea, go for open-ended questions. That's very, very important. Okay. Okay, now continuously asking conceptual questions. This is like a pop quiz thing. Like it's like, hey, Francois, can you tell me the difference between an array of an object? Actually, don't do it, but you know, like the point is that you're like you're forcing them to always be like, what the hell? You're like, I have to be on top because I might be asked a question, you know. So they force their brains. By the way, they want to learn, but sometimes people get distracted, and it's normal. You know, they have their phones and they're talking with their partners. And this way you force them in a non-aggressive way, like, hey, pay attention, you know, like, yeah, you come to me or, you know, you go out. No. And they force to be part of the thing because they might be like, oh, I don't know, you know, and it's weird, so, or uncomfortable. So they're avoiding to, you know, don't have that feeling. So I like to, like, for example, let's say I'm like coding something and I suddenly stop. And it's like, hey, Marta, what is the difference between an array of an object? Hey, what, like, if that conceptual question is part of the topic, right? But it's very, very important, okay? That you do it often. I mean, not all the time, but very often, especially during live codings, because in live codings, people tend to drift apart or because they're long and they get distracted. So when they're like forced to be like there, you know, it's very important. Okay, making them work as a community. Let's say that someone doesn't know an answer to a question. We had this case before. I asked someone something, someone didn't know. It's okay. It's normal. It's very normal not to know something. But you get to you don't give them the answer. That's interesting point. You know, like you don't tell them, okay, can you tell Marta, can you tell me the difference between an array of an object? Okay, I don't have the right answer. No problem. I don't tell them the answer right away. I ask to another person and another person and another person and another person. Maybe my limit is 5 until I like 5 like changes. Then people freak out and it's like, okay, then this is the answer. But then you're doing something for free, which is creating a community feeling that, okay, you know, we're working, learning this together, you know, and we all have the same doubt and we all have the same question. and we don't have, and we all of us, we don't have the answer, and they start working together. And that's the most important part, as I mentioned, of being in a class. So there you go. Audio repeating. Okay. This is my favorite. It works super good. Like, I don't know how, I don't know why. I wish that there were some psychologists here or like some like educational professionals that can tell me why it works, but it works. So while you're doing your live coding, okay, I would like you to tell them to talk loudly on the code that they're writing. Okay, I like to do that. So for example, on this case, I have an Express server, okay? And I code, like, we have this lesson, what, like two months ago or something? So I was writing line by line, Okay, we'll start with line 1, const express equals require express. Claudia, can you tell me what this line is doing? Say it out loud. Const express requires express. I think it requires a library. I mean, she will answer, right? Okay, that's good. Next line. Usually it works, of course, with small exercises, right? Like, you don't want to do it with like a checkpoint review or something that are super big, or like, no. But with small particular exercises, algorithm exercises, conceptual exercises, small workshops, they work super good. Let's go, for example. Then second line, server port. We define a number. Eike, can you tell me the number we're defining? Say the full line. Const server port equals 3000. Why 3000? And then, but they have to say it out loud. And when you say it out loud, for some reason, again, I don't know why, it works, and they remember later when they have to write their own stuff by their own. So yeah, I have, it's proven really, really helpful. Okay, then we have showing a multiple solution for a particular problem. And this works only, and I say only because if you try this with, for example, a big checkpoint solution, it's a little bit tough. So I will only do it with algorithmic challenges like a dojo, for example. Can you share, Marta, can you share your screen? We have a projector here that you can share your capture screen, and it shows to the class. If you have the same, perfect. If not, you can, connect the computer or something. I don't know how it works in your setup, but for me, it will be like, yeah, can you share your screen and make the solution and share your solution that adds an array of numbers? Great, thank you. And for example, let's say Marta goes for the map approach, right? Like array.map, and then that's it. Does someone have a different approach? And at the same time, for the same problem, people get to talk, and someone will come up with a for solution, like just the for loop, or someone will come up with the reduce approach, or something like that. That's my point. When they see different approaches to different problems, they start to think, yeah, and you guys know this, like there's no way, not a single way, sometimes not better, sometimes not worse to solve a problem, but it's very important that they see it, because sometimes it's hard to miss that. Okay, reverse class. This is my second favorite, and it's not something that I will like to do at the beginning, but when they're finishing, oh, thank you, Leonard, for sharing that link. For the ending of the course, I like to do this when we're reviewing concepts. Okay, so I sit in the student chair. I literally took my notes, like my pencil and my notebook, and I start asking them, okay, I ask them the questions, right? Let's review the full stack architecture. Let's take the pencil and draw, How does it work? How do you understand the full request what is the life cycle of a request from the beginning, from user until it reaches the server and the database? Draw. And then he starts drawing, right? And then he will make mistakes, of course, because he's learning, it's normal. But then I ask other people, okay, maybe, Anna or like Claudia or something. Can you help me? Help them. And then sometimes people come to them, and I'm like, I don't get it. I'm trying to learn from you guys, but I don't get it. And you push them a little bit, but then at the same time, they're trying to show you, and that works really good as well. Again, building community, and it's part of a really interesting. Oh, there you go. It's part of deductive learning, and yeah, it works. It works really good for me as well. Okay. They need to feel they're like organized, and I had this particular problem because I'm not a naturally organized person. I mean, I wasn't. Now I am. So I used to say one day before, today we're gonna see this. You know, today we're gonna like tomorrow. Sorry, tomorrow we're gonna cover this topic, and tomorrow we're gonna cover this topic. Now I do it from 1 week, and I say 1 week because sometimes in retrospectives they ask me for another class of something, or they ask me for I don't know, like time for playing ping pong on the class. That's okay. You know, we just write it, and that's fine. I'm making a party, right? Like we had a party there on Tuesday, sorry, Wednesday. So when we have this plan ahead, I like to draw it literally. Like we have a calendar. I know we have an Odyssey, right? But like when we have it here, like printed and like wherever everyone can see it at all time, is more helpful because then you know they don't ask you that many questions. It's like, oh, what are we gonna do? And like it's there. You know, just look at the calendar. Okay. This is also really important. Mention when they should write stuff. Over the length of the course, we cover a lot of technical topics, right? And every time I relate to a topic that I've been asked in a technical interview, or like a particular question that I ask in a technical interview, I'll tell them to write it down and say it out loud, as we covered before. That saying things out loud is very helpful. So when they find that, they just compile the whole thing, and they have a Google Doc where they can, you know, share these questions. And it's gonna be helpful because they're gonna start doing tech interviews next week. So I think it's very nice. Something that like it's proven helpful for me to like ask them to write. It's interview questions, base concepts, like again, difference between an array and an object, or some rule of thumb. When you have a switch case, like an if else with more than 3 cases, go for a switch, something like that. You know, rule of thumb. You can, when like a general guide. So yeah, and people like to that. And again, when you say that loud and when you write it down, it's easier to remember. Again, I don't know why, but it just works. Okay, so that's it. That's all the techniques or tricks I have for during class. And now I would like to cover after, you know, you cover the topic. They're super exhausted usually because you spoke, like the class was like 2 hours and they're like, dude, or, oh yeah, I forgot to write a slide. Like I give a break every 90 minutes or like 60 minutes, 90 minutes, I think is better. So yeah, that will be important as well. And then after the class, screen recording are like super important because as you probably know as well, everyone learns at their own place. So when they want or they're ready to revisit the topic that we cover, they can just watch the screen recording. In my particular setup, I use a QuickTime plus a custom VPN for hosting. That's German government. If you guys can just use YouTube, that will be better. But yeah. Now, I'm sure, and I see this technique also really used in the slides. Yeah, okay. I've seen this technique on the slides on presentations as well. You ask them, how do you guys feel with this particular topic, 1 to 5? And you know, it works really well. Don't ask open questions again. You guys understand, right? Like, it's not helpful. You don't get to, you know, like ask, like get any feedback. So yeah, Roman, do you have something to share with us?
It's a typical trick question. Does everyone understand? I do prefer the other one. Has someone not understand something? Far better.
That's
in
very
my
good.
opinion.
I'm gonna write that down because I like it a lot. Hold on. And because I'm gonna share this slide with you later. So I would like to, you know, or someone does not understand something. There you go. Perfect. Thank you very much. Yeah. So going on the slide, always give a conclusion. You know, after you finish explaining and they, you know, ask questions and stuff. that you should give them a direct conclusion. Okay, over the past course of 90 minutes, we'll learn about how React talks to the database and how can we make queries directly from the client using this particular library. And I hope you guys, had a better approach or like understanding at that time. Again, don't ask open-ended questions. I mean, they want that from Romero School. It allows, like to some point to show up, but like, did you guys understand is the worst. Don't do it. Okay. There is this extra super cool link that I like. It comes in the book. Okay. I can, share this study. I want to share you what is in this link. It's literally a lot of classes from different professors. There's not computer science, but these professors are teaching mathematics and physics and chemistry, but they're like the professors, like the model professors for the book, and they're really good. Like I reach all their class, I watch all these classes from these people, and I learn a lot of stuff because they're doing a like really great job. I know it's not computer science, so you cannot do everything, but there's a lot of material here that you guys can see. There's like a lot of videos. There's like 20 videos on different classes with different methodologies. I just give you a quick overview, but that's not it. There's more stuff to to see. So yeah, you can check them out when you have the time, and that will be that will be it from me. Thank you very much. We still have like some time. It was a short like meeting and stuff, but we have the time. So if someone has some comments or wants to have a particular technique that has been proven helpful, this will be the time. Like I know that maybe from most of you guys, these techniques are like super clear and obvious because everyone, like you guys are great professors, but there's something always that we can learn. So if there's something that I didn't mention and you guys think that is super helpful, please go ahead and share. And this is, open-ended question because I really don't know how you guys teach, but yeah, that will be the time.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
No, thank you to you guys. All right, so I think that will be it then. I'm closing this recording. Anyone have a question now? We're good to go.